youth of Africa are a driving force for digital sustainability on the continent. And with over 70% of Africa's population under the age of 30, young people are leveraging digital technology to address pressing sustainability challenges. Now, through digital innovation, youth are creating sustainable solutions in areas such as agriculture, healthcare, education, and environmental conservation. For instance, mobile apps are being developed to enhance agricultural productivity, improve access to healthcare services, and promote digital learning. The youth are utilizing digital platforms to raise awareness about sustainability issues, mobilize action, and hold leaders accountable. We're now being joined by Head of Programs, and Grants Aspire Coronation Trust Foundation, Ugochukwu Nwosu, and Executive Director of the Women's Technology Empowerment Center, Oreoluwa, Lesi, to discuss youth digital pathways for sustainable development in Africa, tying it to the work the group does on youth empowerment through digitization. It's good to have both of you here on Newsday. Good afternoon, and we appreciate your time, of course. Now, let's just talk first off on the theme this year, which is from clicks to progress, youth digital pathways for sustainable development. How does that resonate with the current digital landscape in Africa, but more importantly in Nigeria, especially in the context of youth empowerment? Let's just start with you, because ladies first. Yes.
All right, okay. So, technology is really changing the world that we live in right now. And in Nigeria, we're looking at internet penetration. And we see that, it's still fairly low. Overall, internet penetration is about 55% of the population. That means that literally just about half of the population have access to the internet. So that means that as technology has the potential to increase the economic growth of the country, to provide access to healthcare, education, it means that not everyone is able to take advantage of these opportunities. We still have about half who are really left out. And then when we also look at meaningful access, meaningful connectivity, that means that you're able to have access to broadband internet, usually at least once a day, then we see that the potential for technology to change our country, our national development, really is restricted. But that notwithstanding, we're seeing so many examples of young people who are doing amazing things with technology. We're seeing startups getting funding. There's still limited access when we look at the general continents. Nigeria is still a little bit behind, but in terms of but I would say that, there is potential, really, and we are seeing it manifested. We are seeing also that the contributions to the national GDP by information and communication technologies is also rising as well. Last quarter of last year was about 16, maybe 0.22% that technology contributed to the national GDP. So we see, even if we're looking at the figures, that potential is there, and it's being manifested gradually.
Fantastic. We'll come to you, Ugochukwu. Now, of course, we know that when it comes to technology, it's always evolving. If you don't evolve, you end up, being lost. So in what ways are you adapting your programs to address the rapidly evolving nature of digital technologies and the changing demands of the job market?
Okay, thank you very much. So, the technology is actually available. Then some of them, tree cleaning, all kinds of tech are available. But it's just not what the technology does, it's also what we do with the technology, right? Technology will only make sense if you can be able to explain that this technology can fill erosion holes, that this technology can fix the roof, that I can be able to feed because of this technology. So at Aspire Coronation Trust Foundation, we actually work with about 98 partners across Africa. And we're intentional about what demographics of our beneficiaries are. A lot of them women and children. Now, we actually went ahead to design a special competition which is highlighting people who are using technology to do amazing things in their community. So some of those small enterprise, social enterprise organizations who are not your usual startups, right? They don't know how to do the big proposals to get the big grants. They just started, they're doing something amazing. So we are saying, take this initial money, let's get you to the point where you can actually be able to show yourself to the world. I mean, we've done that for a couple of years now, and of course, this year's competition is currently running.
Well, staying with you, I want us to talk about how, like, leveraging digital technologies for sustainable development. And, you know, just having an idea of what it is you do, I can see that you are very focused, of course, on making sure that you are bridging that gap. But can we talk about the practical ways that young people can leverage these technologies? I mean, you've spoken about the fact that we know that the youth is made up of 70% of our population are the young people, but only 55% of them actually have access to it. So how do you drive sustainable development? You know, how does it reach across, you know, these communities that don't have the access? I'll start with you.
So, in most cases, number one is it's partnerships, right? Because as Aspire Coordination Trust, as WTech, as one organization, there's almost very little that you can achieve. So the first thing is to be able to like build the strong partnerships. Those who understand the technology, those who understand how to implement it, those who understand how to make it work for different locations, to be able to work together but have one voice and speak of the same thing. Now the other thing is also part of the cost is to be able to drive the cost of adoption and usage, because we all talk about a whole lot of new technologies. We believe that everyone has a phone, but how many of them are actually recharged and have data on it at every other time? You know, we have kind of grown in different ways with technology, but our growth hasn't been linear. Right, so you have the same. Someone would say, "Oh, this is Lagos. Lagos should be very, very open and advanced." But at the same time, in some places, it's not that advanced. So part of our work is to be able to help some of those people who you don't hear their voice, who have things to offer, and also those who need access to those important things to be able to be in a position where they have the options to use technology.
Fantastic. Coming to you, of course, Oreoluwa, how do you address concerns when it comes to issues or challenges of data privacy and online safety, especially considering that you're dealing with youth in this case, and it's, of course, regarding your digital empowerment program? How do you address those?
Okay, so I mean, I think, you know, there are several aspects that we could look at. So one thing that we do in our organization is that we're working to encourage girls and women to be able to leverage digital tools in a productive way. And so we have different programs that do that. But a major concern is always about privacy. It's always about the experience online. And we see that the data shows that women are more likely to experience some kind of violence online, harassment online, which deters a lot of them, you know, from participating and engaging in that space. So, I mean, you start with education and you start with awareness. You start by making them aware of the things that can happen, because, I mean, there are, you know, some people who could go online and they are totally oblivious. They think that, oh, if I'm talking to someone who says they're 13 years old, they're really 13 years old, not knowing that, you know, they could be 50 years old. So we have to make them aware of that. And then, you know, now start to teach them strategies to actually protect themselves online in terms of how much they share, in terms of things that they can do, maybe internet securities, having strong passwords, other things that they can do in terms of protecting themselves. But then the other aspect is also penalties as well. What does the law say about, you know, if people perpetuate these kinds of harms online? Are there stiff enough penalties to deter people? If there are penalties, are they actually being implemented? So we have to look at all those different things. So for our part, you know, we are always advocating for a safer internet, and we're also trying to make sure that we're always creating awareness so that users are armed with that knowledge and they go forth and they're able to make informed decisions.
I mean, you spoke about partnership, you know, earlier, and it's when we look at even the relationship between ACT Foundation and WTech, that is already what's going on. But I wonder if you're looking at any support from the government, you know, educational institutions that could just help, you know, in the digital skills, you know, necessary, being able to like spread out those tentacles and make sure that more people are being involved. I mean, we've seen the body language of the Minister of Communications, Innovations and Digital Economy, him saying he's focused on making sure that they drive it up. Is that something that you're looking to explore? And can you also share any success stories from your experiences so far? Start with you.
Okay, I would say that one of the part of the work that we do around policy is being able to remind government and people who are in charge of certain places that have been forgotten, right? In most cases, when someone is in a certain office, they get the information that is available to them. So, but the work of the civil society, for instance, is to be able to say, hey, listen, these guys can do this and you've forgotten about them. And we actually do this through various interesting processes. So recently, down in October, we'll be hosting our breakfast dialogue, which is like an annual convening that we do every year to discuss issues around how non-profit organizations work and also how government can understand the private sector and so on. So that's one of the ways that we try to put out the word to bring out these players together to say, this is how you can actually work together. So our work as Aspire Foundation Trust Foundation is more of like being the bridge between all this, because we can't make policies. We also don't exactly implement. So we implement.
But you can influence.
Yeah, we do influence. Yes, we fund people like WTech and a host of other very beautiful organizations across Africa to make sure that these policies are driven home. And then, of course, we have what we call our knowledge series, which is where we invite like the general public. Because again, sometimes if people don't know that something can be an issue, something can be spoken about, until you bring it to their notice, then it means that it's coming up from different angles. So we're more like an enabler in the process.
Fabulous. And as we round up, of course, Oreoluwa, please let us know how you measure your success, the metrics that you use to determine your success.
All right, so for us, I mean, it's very important to see that we work primarily with girls and women, and we're encouraging them to use technology in their different aspects of their life, whether that's education, entrepreneurship, and basically community engagement. We are also, so we measure how are they using the tools that they learned in the specific programs they attended. We also look at how many girls have decided to pursue a career in science and technology, because that's very important to us. And then aside from the girls, you know, who decide to go into a career in STEM, we look at the other girls. How are they using technology in other ways? Are they able to make money from the skills that they've gotten? So we measure if they've been able to generate an income with the skills that they've gotten. And then for women, the program that ACT Foundation funds is called She Can with ICT, and we're working with female entrepreneurs. So we also measure how much their profitability has increased since they started the program. So those are the different aspects that we look at.
Fabulous.
Fantastic, and well done. All the work that you're doing, of course, is adding, and it's a drop into the ocean that is eventually going to make Nigeria great again. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you, Ugochukwu, Nwosu, and Oreoluwa Lesi. I appreciate your time and your analysis on Newsday.